Hello, my name is David Hopewell from Gwynedd Archaeological Trust. This is the fourth lecture we've put together. These are informal lectures looking at the work of the Trust. And I've been going through the work that we've done on Roman archaeology in Gwynedd. So yeah, this is the fourth lecture. I've put on a slightly more colourful shirt this time. And this time we'll be looking at Roman roads. This project was an obvious follow-on from work looking at the forts, and was a kind of an overdue project really. Gwynedd Archaeological Trust holds the historic environment record for Gwynedd, as the other trusts do for their areas in Wales. And we had a large amount of information about Roman roads that had been accessioned to the historic environment record. Some of it's published work, some of it's information that the general public had brought in, some of it's good information, some of it was definitely dodgy. So we thought it was time to work our way through this information and also get it onto GIS mapping. So basically we can get linear features on the historic environment record and assess the data we've got so far. There's lots of different sources of information. Romans didn't leave us many clues. The Antonine itinerary mentions one road. That's the road going from Sigontium, Carnarvon to Diva, Chester. But modern sources, we've got maps, books, journals. The first good synthesis of Roman roads in Britain was by Ivan Margary. He was working in, his first edition was in 1955 to 57, and it was revised in 1967. And the slide here shows his map of Roman roads in Wales. He did a very good job of pulling together information from a lot of different sources, and also produced a numbering system for the roads, which is what we've continued and using. So the Roman road from Carnarvon through to Caerhun is Roman road 67C, as we can see from here. Now, he's not the only person who's attempted this. There's been things like Mr. O'Dwyer in 1934 wrote a book called The Roman Roads of Wales, and fell into the trap that many writers of Roman roads have in that seeing almost every old road as a Roman road. Doesn't necessarily follow. If you go almost anywhere in Wales or Britain for that matter, or probably Europe, every old road in the locality will be called the Roman road. So what we needed to do was to bring a little more rigour to this process. Our sources of information were various, as I mentioned. The Ordnance Survey have been looking at Roman roads for many years. This is their historical map and guide to Roman Britain of 2001. And as you can see, they're not very confident on Roman roads in Gwynedd. There are a few that they've got in as definite lines, and most of it's dotted or not there at all. One thing that really, one of the best sources of information that we got doing the desktop work for this was actually the Ordnance Survey files themselves. They produced a series of linear files, which are sort of copies of maps that they stuck together, and you can unravel them into these great long linear files looking at the Roman roads within Gwynedd and beyond, obviously. And so these are Ordnance Survey maps that are annotated very carefully. This is the Roman road over Bulcadavine, which gives you their opinion on what actually survives, and also ties in quite a lot of the already published literature. So we looked at these and digitised quite a lot of information from these, and then went out and started working on the ground. but this allowed us to produce a decent maps of Roman roads. So this is an example. This is near Tomenamere, and these can stretch right across the landscape. Now, as you can see, we have different lines here, several different lines. So this is, we're looking at the information. So we're not discarding information, we're assessing it. So we're looking to see whether we actually think it is a Roman road or not. And how do we do that? Well, Roman roads, as with almost everything else that the Romans did, were built to a pattern, and they tended to stick to it. So we're looking at this, diagnostic criteria. How do you identify a Roman road? Well, everybody knows Roman roads are big straight things that go through the landscape, like Watling Street or Ermine Street. But that isn't necessarily true. If you happen to be trying to put a Roman road through the Lake District or North Wales, you will run up against mountains, bogs, cliffs, and you can't actually necessarily make a straight road. So Roman roads are not necessarily this big straight thing running through the landscape. They are in some places, but not always. So we need other diagnostic criteria, because there are also other straight roads as well. So this is what people have found through field work and looking at Roman roads. So we're looking at the road itself is a raised surface made from gravel, stones and clay, usually dug from the subsoil nearby from a quarry pit, another diagnostic feature, and not paved with stones. The surface was a gravelly surface, which is ideal for horses, as opposed to a cobbled surface, which is not. The raised road surface is called an agger. Remember that word, an agger? But you often find sarn in Welsh, meaning causeway, quite often has been used to describe Roman roads, and you find it in Welsh place names, though every road with sarn in it is not a Roman road. So it tends to be a small ditch on either side. This seems to be a very variable feature, more of a drainage ditch than anything beyond, I think, and also in the uplands where it's not heavily cultivated land, quarry pits. So this is where they got the material to make the agger. The one thing that's very important as well is they tend to be very similar widths in North Wales, at least. So we're looking at most Roman roads are about 5 metres wide. They very, very rarely any less. I think we've found one that I was fairly convinced about. It was about 3. Sometimes they're a bit wider. If we look at some of the big roads in England, we'll find much wider